Welcome to the Back to Life podcast, where we explore living well, loving well, and being well. I'm your host, Nicole, and I invite you to tune in for inspirational conversations to get you back to life. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Back to Life podcast, where we dive into conversations about living well, loving well, and being well. I'm your host, Nicole. Today, we're going to be talking about something really close to my heart because I know that we've all been there. I mean, tired, worn out, but still telling ourselves, I don't have time to rest. This episode is going to be called Imagine Me Rested and Renewed. So imagine me getting some R&R. So got a quick question for you. How many of us are still running on empty? I know you can't see it, but I got my hands up. We've all been there, burnt out, overworked, emotionally drained, and yet we keep going, telling ourselves that we'll rest when things slow down, right? But here's the truth. Rest is not a luxury. It is a necessity, actually. And without it, we can't grow, we can't heal, and we definitely can't show up as our best self. Look, I get it. A lot of us don't have the luxury to just up and take a break whenever we want. You got bills. Well, we all got bills, family, jobs, commitments, life, because life is lifing, right? And you're thinking, rest? I don't have time for that. But here's the thing. Not making time for rest isn't just burning you out physically. It's hitting your mental health too. And it's hitting us right at the core. So today we're going to talk about what rest really looks like, even when life is hectic, and how we can find moments of renewal no matter what our situation looks like. Trust me, we're not talking about some spa days or vacation days. What we're talking about, even though that does sound nice, by the way, but what we're talking about is how to rest right where we are, even in the midst of the chaos. That sounds good, doesn't it? All right. So first up, let's pause. Have you ever really just paused and thought about how much you're actually doing? I'm talking about, running around from work to taking care of family, loved ones, to holding it down for everyone else, just doing all the things. And in doing so, we tend to run ourselves ragged, and we call it, getting stuff done because we need to get stuff done, right? But I want you to think, at what cost are we doing these things? That doesn't mean not to do them. It's just consider the cost, especially the cost if we don't slow down and take a moment. Listen, sometimes for us as women, we tend to hold on to this myth that we got to be superwoman all the time. Now, we may not on the surface and go, no, I don't want to do this, but we live out what is going on underneath the surface. And sometimes we are just running ourselves ragged. And so the truth is, we can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're running on fumes, then that is a clear indicator that it's time to pause and take stock of how much we're actually carrying. And sometimes when we do that, we're going to find out, is this something I even need to be carrying? And when we think about it, that constant hustle, you and I both know that it is draining, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. When we don't rest, we are setting ourselves up for burnout, anxiety, and even depression. And I'm not just saying that for the sake of it. There's some real science behind it. And knowing that a lack of rest can actually mess with your brain, your mood, as well as your spirit. So why is rest so important for our mental and emotional health? Think about it. Our bodies and our minds are designed to need rest. When we sleep, that's when our brains reset and our bodies repair themselves. But rest goes beyond just sleep. Emotional rest is about giving ourselves permission to pause and process all the things that life throws at us. And with the twilight zone of the last few years, we need to. I know for me, I used to be someone who thought I could push through all the things. Like I'd say, oh, I'll just do a little bit more. I'll rest when I'm done. But you know what? That's not sustainable. Let me tell you about a time when I had to learn the hard way. There's so many things I learned the hard way. You would think. Anyway, that's a side note. A few years ago, I was juggling a million things like work, family, side projects, you name it, because, all my tabs are always open. But I was always available. I made myself accessible more than I should have. And then one day my body decided to shut me down. I ended up in the doctor's office, completely run down, and my doctor told me not some not so fun news about my health. So, you know what? That was a wake up call because honestly, for real, she didn't need to say anything. I knew that I needed to slow down. But to have somebody else say it, it's like, dang, gotta face it. And I realized that I had been neglecting my most basic need, which is rest. And it was catching up with me in the form of burnout. And I was trying to pour from an empty cup. And that was just not working. So if you are listening today and you're feeling that exhaustion, that weariness, let this be your reminder. Rest. Go lay yourself down, take a nap, do whatever you need to do, but you take care of yourself. Rest is not a reward that you give yourself at the end of the day. It's something you need to function and to thrive. Now let's ponder. Why is it that we feel like we don't have the time to rest? I mean, we tell ourselves that, well, I don't know. This is something I've told myself is if I don't do it, nobody will, or I've got too much on my plate to slow down. I got stuff to do. But the reality is this: if we don't take time to rest, it's going to catch up with us one way or the other. Look at the signs. You might start snapping at other people that you love. You find yourself too tired to focus at work or at home, or maybe your body just starts giving up and just going, ooh, and then all of a sudden you start feeling these random aches and pains. You know what? That is your body and your mind screaming, I need a break. And you know what? We would do good to listen. And so I'm not talking about like quitting your job or going on a month long vacation because not everybody has that kind of privilege or anything to do those things. If you do, go for it. But what I'm saying is, I know we're not all out here with the option to just step away from everything, but rest doesn't always look like a getaway. Sometimes rest is about finding small moments where you can renew your energy, your mind, your spirit right where you are. It could be as simple as permitting yourself to say, no, I'm not doing that extra thing today, or carving out 15 minutes to sit in silence and just breathe. Okay, I know that seems like a long time. So even if you can just do a minute, hey, whatever works for you. But sometimes rest is choosing you in the middle of the madness. On the other hand, not listening to your body's alarm system for rest can lead to burnout. And it's not just about being tired, it is full on emotional exhaustion, feeling detached from things that used to bring you joy, and even physical symptoms like headaches, muscle tensions, or insomnia, or worst case scenario, disease. It's important to recognize these signs early on because once burnout sets in, it can take a serious toll on your mental and physical health. I mean, it's no joke. And recovery from burnout is a physical, mental, and emotional process, and it takes time. I know there are some people who it took them months to years to recover from burnout. So I encourage you is to acknowledge what is going on and give yourself permission to pause and reevaluate. Remember to take care of yourself because self care saves lives for real. So I want you to just simply ask yourself, what is it that I need? And that's going to lead us to prepare. We know that we need to rest, but how do we make it happen when life is already so full and we got things to do? So, I want to give you some things that we can start with, some small practical ways that we can kind of renew and refresh ourselves. Number one, sleep, y'all. If you are not getting good sleep, everything else is out of whack. If you are not getting enough rest at night, your body cannot repair itself and your mind cannot reset. So if your sleep is lacking, consider setting a bedtime routine, changing the one that you currently have, like turning off your screens, dimming the lights, and allowing your body to wind down naturally. Your mind needs rest just as much as your body. Number two, mindfulness and prayer. Sometimes rest is not about just the physical, it's about your spirit too. Life is a lot right now. Just look around you, watch the news. It's a lot. And this means giving yourself time and space to process all of that. Maybe that's through journaling or talking things out with a therapist or a trusted friend, or perhaps just taking a few moments to sit in stillness and breathe. See, that's that stillness again. I know if that's an issue for you, there are other things you can do. Spending time in nature or taking a moment to pray or meditate, this is where that renewal starts. It really is about taking a moment, slowing down, stopping, and kind of pausing and going, whoa, what is happening here? What is it that I need? I know for me, my faith has always been a source of strength and renewal, especially during overwhelming times. So, connecting with something greater than yourself can definitely fill your cup in ways that nothing else can. You don't need a lot of time to do any of these things that I've just mentioned, but consistency is key. Making that a part of your daily life can really add benefits and renew and refresh you. Number three, boundaries. Yep, we're back to those boundaries again. Setting them is crucial for your emotional rest. And saying no to things that drain you, whether it's extra stuff to do at work or around the house or with other people, toxic relationships, or just unnecessary stress. Saying no is self care. Protect your peace by not overcommitting yourself, because what you allow is what will continue. Number four, find joy. Renewal comes from doing things that fill you back up. Think about it. What is something small that makes you smile? Maybe it's taking a walk, a good book, listening to your favorite music. Shoot, laughter is definitely something to kind of fill your cup. But it's important for you to make time for joy, because that's where your spirit gets recharged. And number five, check in on your mental health. This is super important. If you are feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or like you're about to just break, reach out for help. There is no shame in getting help or having therapy. Talking to someone can be just the reset that you need. And I encourage you to do so. I encourage you as a therapist to do that. I encourage you as your fellow human to do that. I encourage you to take care of yourself, because it is so important and you matter. All right. Before we wrap this up, I want you to reflect on this. Where are you running on empty? Where in your life are you so busy doing that you're not taking care of yourself? And what would it look like to feel renewed? What's one small way you can rest or renew yourself this week? Maybe it's getting an extra hour of sleep. Okay, 10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes. Maybe it's saying no to the thing you don't really have time for. Or maybe it's just giving yourself a little grace when you don't get everything done. Self-compassion goes a long way. Give yourself some grace. Think about it. If you don't rest, your mind and body will eventually force you to. So you can do it voluntarily or involuntarily. And if you do it involuntarily, that's a hard road you just don't want to go down. Now, take a deep breath. And I want you to commit to listening to your body and its wisdom. Slow down and pause as needed in a way that is authentic to you. Sometimes it's just as simple as sitting down somewhere and taking a nap. Whatever you do, I encourage you to rest, renew, and just be. Okay, y'all. I hope you're hearing me. Rest is not a luxury. It is a necessity, and you deserve it. You need it, and your mental health depends on it. Don't let life convince you that you don't have time to rest, because you do. Start small, be consistent, and make sure you're renewing yourself, because we need you out here whole. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Back to Life podcast. If this resonates with you, share it with a friend who might need the reminder to slow down and rest. And remember, we've got one more episode in this Imagine Me series, so don't miss out on our last episode called Imagine Me Finally Free, coming up next. And as always, take care of yourself and be well. I'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories about this series that we're talking about. You can follow us online at our website or on socials, and information about that is in the show notes. Be well.